Good morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Colvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. And again, thanks for listening this morning. 612-504-8400 is the phone line. Feel free to give us a call or visit havenfinancialgroup.com. We continue to do classes all year long, investment classes, maximize Social Security and tax classes, Medicare Made Simple classes. Go to our website, other classes as well. A senior fraud class here at our education center coming up in September. Senior fraud, unfortunately, is worse every year, and we want to be aware of and try to avoid all this stuff that potentially can happen to us. So always good to be with you, Kim. We got Kyle Thomas still on with us, certified financial planner on the Haven investment team, and we're going to walk through a little bit of American history about money. How about that?
Well, we said, I think in the last week or two, we've talked about the fact that history repeats itself, and it can be a really great guide as we look into the unknown. Because if we look back, we will see there's been trends that might give us some insight into what might happen in the future. And certainly that has been the case as we've watched inflation in the country, which has been pretty tough over the last couple of years. For many people who have just reached the retirement age or are about to, this inflationary time might be more impactful than it's ever been before. So maybe you didn't realize it. But it's not the first time that there has been inflation in this country, correct?
Absolutely not. And, we are still a very young country if you look at it in the grand scheme of things and how old other countries are. So there's a lot of learning that we're still doing, even though our country started in 1776. The types of currency that they were using back then was British pounds and Spanish currency, and we didn't even have a U.S. dollar currency until the Coinage Act in 1792, right? So that's not a whole lot of time that we have had our own currency here, and we did not get the U.S. Treasury established in our country until 789, right? So then we didn't have the United States Bank until 1816. So there's a lot of changes that happened, and we haven't had a lot of history to go off of. So we're still learning things, especially with the current inflation going forward, the last couple of years and how the Fed is handling things going forward here. So there's a lot for us to understand still.
Larry, when looking back, you've been working in this business during other inflationary times. Talk a little bit about some of those in more recent history, but maybe ones that people haven't been thinking about.
Well, now you're going to test my history, and I never was a real history buff, Kim, so way to put me on the spot.
Well, I think there were major problems back in the early 2000s. We saw all kinds of problems. We all watched the stock market drop like crazy when we had so many of our financial institutions under pressure in 2000 and would that be 8?
2007 to 2009. You're right. Actually, 1999 to 2001, Y2K. Man, right. That seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Or maybe it doesn't. We had a major market correction, yes, but who cares? We were all so much younger, it didn't really matter. But there were people retiring in those years.
That's right.
2007 to 2009, real estate market correction. Pretty much every listener remembers how their 401k became a 201k and they lost half their money. We were spoiled for almost 14 years. Again, COVID hit and so on and so forth. The market's high. But, Kyle hit it's a good point. A couple of years ago, I was in Europe and, those are old countries. We have not had, 1913, the Federal Reserve was established. 1913. That's not that long ago.
No.
So we are still learning. Inflation has always been here. It will always continue to be here. Interest rates change. Just this past week is when we discussed, do people have mortgages? And by the way, I'm a firm believer in retirement. If you do not have a mortgage, the happiest people in retirement don't have a mortgage. Now, I understand not everybody can do that. Now, my other financial advisors would say, don't ever pay off your mortgage. That's just silly. I disagree. But again, we can all respectfully disagree. But the reality is, I was talking about mortgages, and people have panicked recently about 6 to 7% mortgages because there was 2 to 3%. Well, I got a lot of clients that remember 15 to 18% mortgages. Okay.
Absolutely.
So interest rates, inflation, all this stuff, which affects our money, it affects our bills, it affects our monthly budgets. This isn't anything new, but we tend to forget because we live in the moment, and the moment affects us now, and we forget about, well, it affected other people back in those times. So it comes back to, again, full circle to having a plan that can adjust, modify. Right. At Haven Financial Group, it's what we do, and it's what we'll continue to do. But a lot of people just are not getting that attention. They talk about retirement, all these retirement topics once a year, maybe for an hour. Well, what kind of attention is that? Especially for what you're paying. You should be getting more value for what you're paying, and you're not getting the attention. And if that's you, come on in and let's have a discussion.
Absolutely. Well, I brought up asking you about more recent events and you hit the nail on the head, because we did go through that financial correction in 2007 to 2009, and then we enjoyed 14 years of comfort. So point being that with a good plan, you may have some trouble now, but those good years could just be right around the corner. And again, history repeats itself. So if you go in with a good plan, chances are good you will get to better times.
You're exactly right. Just as the U.S. evolved over time, your retirement plan will also evolve, or should evolve. It shouldn't be the same when you're 30, 40, 50, 60. There's modifications that should happen. So let's take a page out of history. Don't leave your financial future, your retirement future, to chance. Hope is not a plan. Yes, we can have hope, and I hope we all have hope, but that's not a plan. Explore all the options. Get a personalized one-on-one conversation with anybody on the team. What are your strategies? They're probably not the same as your neighbors. How do you navigate through all of these things confidently? What does your income position look like? Are you in it for the long haul? When are you going to run out of money? I hope you never will. But if you don't have a plan, how do you know? You're just guessing. And I would say let's not leave it to chance and to guessing.
Well, I can tell you this. It doesn't give a carefree summer if you're spending all your time guessing. And again, that's a metaphor for a carefree retirement. We're equating it to summer, but the fact of the matter is your goals, no doubt, whatever they might be, must also include the idea of a stress-free time in your life. So if you are looking to put together a plan, if you don't have one, or if maybe you have one and you want yours reviewed, if you're 25 years out from retirement, but you think it's time to start thinking that way. And by the way, if you're 25 years out, it is. You want to start to put together a plan. As Larry said, frequently people come in and say, gosh, I wish I would have started sooner. Don't let that be you. Let's get started right now. 612-504-8400. That's the number you call. Set up an appointment. It is free of charge. Come in, visit with the folks at Haven Financial Group. Tell them where you stand in this retirement planning strategy time, and they can work with you to make sure that this is a carefree time in your life. 612-504-8400. That's the number. And of course, you can go to havenfinancialgroup.com. You can learn more about Haven Financial Group as well as some of those upcoming educational seminars. When we come back, let's talk about plans for life of freedom. Again, that's sort of what everybody, I think, ultimate goal is when they get to retirement. It may not be one size fits all, but everybody's looking for a little bit of freedom. We're going to talk about that when we come back, right here on the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.